The following presentation is a production of Ride the Wave Media.
It's the Best Birth Podcast, where we interview experts that elevate you as you prepare your heart and mind to have the best birth.
Each episode will interview professionals so you are prepared for pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Our experts will build your confidence and empower you to trust your intuition throughout your pregnancy.
This audio is taken from videos on YouTube. Watch the entire episodes on YouTube at Birth Made Mindful. You're listening to the Best Birth Podcast. We're excited to join Mary Wood today, a professional organizer with Whole Package Organizing. And today we're going to talk all about Kid Clutter, how to manage all of the new baby gear, and much more.
Thank you for being here, Mary. Mary grew up in Louisiana, and she now lives in Daybreak with her two kids. She has a background in music and management. And as the visionary for our creative output, she can see the big picture of products before figuring out the best way to get there. Mary loves to come up with creative ways to simplify any room or process. She regularly declutters her own home and brings enthusiasm and warmth to any organizing session. Mary is passionate about travel organizing across the U.S., helping clients find clarity in their lives, and her favorite thing is to lead large team jobs from start to finish.
Yes.
Oh, I love that too, just that feeling of success and completion. That is amazing.
Well, and Mary, before we start, tell us more about your music, because I'm also a musician.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Yes. So I was a professional French horn player for many years. That was my whole education. That's what I, majored in college, and I moved out here to Salt Lake to be a freelance musician. So I played with subbed with the Utah Symphony, Ballet West, Orchestra at Temple Square, brass quintet, woodwind quintet, all the things, recording sessions. And then I went through a divorce, and so I needed a little more steady employment. And so I worked for the Utah Symphony for a year as their assistant personnel manager. But the schedule just wasn't great for always being away from my kids, in the evenings during the concert time. So I kind of decided, did a lot of research. What could I do where I could work during the hours that my kids are in school? And decided that I had always been passionate about organizing, that would be a good option.
Maybe music and organizing goes hand in hand.
I think so.
Because I studied violin, and I am always organizing. I love it. I love containers and containers inside of containers.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's something mathematical about it a little bit, listening to a good Bach concerto. There's something satisfying about that, and I think that translates to organizational, structure within a room as well.
Same here. I grew up playing the violin, and I would be the one to organize our pantry, and so that's an interesting connection. Well, what are the first steps in physical organization with having a baby?
I think the very first step is to know that, number one, you're not going to do it all perfectly, and number two, you don't need to buy all of the things. I know it's so tempting to to do your baby registry, and people want to give you gifts, and that's all really exciting, the nesting phase. But I think understanding that you don't need all the things in the beginning can kind of help with the clutter that's going to come naturally with as your kid gets older. You have all of the different stages, and so I would say holding off on not getting everything, just the essentials, and then get things as you need them, but not I might need this one day, so let's go stock up our entire, all the space in our house with all the baby things.
My mom tells the story when my oldest sister was born. She had 4 outfits when they brought her home from the hospital, and that was essentially it.
Yeah.
So
and
it goes
I'm sure that
to
went
show.
to the next kids and the next kids and the next kid. Yeah, I mean, people lived a lot more simply, and I think there's some wisdom in living simply. So,
I think they collected enough stuff as they
Right.
went along. But I think it is a great point to realize that you might not need as much as the businesses will tell you.
Exactly.
So true. Well, then once you have the baby stuff, how do you contain it? What are we doing with all this stuff?
With all the stuff. I think that making sure that you only have taking up the space, your active living space, with things that you are actively using. So whatever stage you're in, set up, obviously you're going to need a diaper station in each room, right? Okay, so you have a little container that holds your diapers and your wipes and your ointment, and that's just a neatly contained thing that can live in every room. Figuring out for your whole home, as a professional organizer, we really try to stress, let's pick a home for items and set up a structure so that everyone in the home knows where this item lives. So I think kind of mapping out in your mind, where are the baby books and the kids' books going to live? Like, where are the toys going to live? Am I going to allow them in their rooms, or are we just going to have a toy room? So deciding these things out beforehand, and then mapping out your space and creating the structure so that anyone in the home can put those things back in that space. I think that's like your strategy for sanity.
Oh, this strategy is amazing. My question is, though, how do you help the other members of the home to buy into your strategy?
Well, that is the tough part, but if you clearly label things, and we really like when we're working with younger kids, like in a toy space, and the kids aren't old enough to read, we'll use picture labels so that they can match that. Oh, this is, these are the cars. I know I can put those away. But I think just labeling a space, like for example, even just in my own home, when I have guests, like when my parents come and visit me from Louisiana, like I have they're great at emptying my dishwasher, but they need to know where to put things. So if you just have little labels places, then everyone knows this is where the peelers go. So I think labels can help, and then just maybe even walking your family through and being like, okay, we just set all this up. This is where the home is for this is where the home is for that. And it's all of our jobs to put things back.
Well, that's a great idea to use pictures instead of text when you're looking at like a kid's playroom or like their bins. I think the child is able to clean up. They want to sort.
They want to help. I mean, the terrible twos is because they're so independent and they are like, no, I want to do these things. That's how they grow and develop. And so, like, for example, in a kitchen, if I'm doing, organizing someone's whole kitchen, then I take into account whether or not they have young kids. And if they have young kids, then I say, okay, let's have the lowest drawer be for the kids so that they can help unload the dishwasher and they can help put the dishes on the table, setting the table. So, yeah, having areas accessible for kids helps teach them that responsibility, and then they're proud of themselves and they can contribute.
I know that you work a lot with women who have ADHD or problems with executive functioning, and we know that when we have mom brain, our executive functioning is kind of lower. What are some strategies that you seem to find that are helpful in those situations?
First of all, I would say like 85% of our clients struggle with executive functioning or have ADHD. And so what we've found really helps is they tell us, like we get the feedback, I need to see it to know that it's there. Like you buy things over and over if you can't find it in a pile of stuff. You just forget that you have something if you can't see it. So I would say trying to set up things so that if you know that you need to see items, then use clear containers so that you can see them, and also that they're labeled. If you know that you really struggle with like just finding the motivation to clean up your house on a regular basis, like either if you can have help cleaning it, if you can have help with like organizing maintenance, no judgment. Like some people just need that help more than others, And so understanding that there are things that you can do to kind of build in, or knowing that like, all right, I can't do all this myself. And so we're going to set up, this is what my husband helps me with. This is the job for the kids. I mean, I'm a single mom and I love organizing my house and keeping it decluttered, but I absolutely hate doing the dishes. And so my two teenagers, like that is their job. They empty and load the dishwasher, and we're a much happier family because I'm terrible at that.
Well, I think you would be surprised how many people who have that organizing gene, they want to help. And as a professional organizer, are you finding that there's just tons of people who need that help and are willing to outsource this task?
Yes, absolutely. I think they just get to a point of overwhelm. Like a lot of times we'll get our whole house organizing jobs are usually for people who are just stuck. They have clothes like piled miles high in every room and they just can't get unstuck. And so they find that if they hire us to help, then we can come in with a big team, knock it out in a day or two, set up structure and containers and everything for them. And then they're like, oh my gosh, okay, now I can get a handle on things. I just couldn't dig myself out from these piles. It's really hard to do that by yourself.
And is there any element of emotional detachment with some of these clients to help them process why they're holding on to things?
Absolutely. We kind of joke on our team that like our job is part, cleaner, part organizer, big time part therapist. And so, yes, there is a lot of emotional attachment to items. There's a lot of emotional like shame that comes with, I can't keep up with my house and other people seem to be able to. But just understanding like what your limitations are, what you're able to do, what you're not, and asking for help in the areas that you need help, I think is very healthy.
One of the phrases that I love is the difference between a collection and a hoard is how it's displayed.
Oh,
And so
I
if
had
you
not
are able
heard
to
that.
display your collection or maybe contain, right? If it's not something that you necessarily need to display, like all of
Right.
your fabric for your quilting.
Right.
But it's really interesting to kind of psychologically think about why are we collecting or why are we hanging on to some of these items? But then if we switch it and it's to display, it's to share all of those mugs that we've
Right.
picked up.
Gathering me, all mine. It's like, what am I doing to, and some people, they like to hang on to a lot of things just in case my kid might need this and down the road, or just in case, and that's okay. But if it comes to a point where you're like tripping over these items and you have pathways in your room, your room's everywhere and you have piles and piles of stuff, then that's not,
Do you have a rule of thumb on when to keep it and when to let it go if it's something you might need for later?
That's a hard one. For example, I mean, I really loved Marie Kondo's book when it came out. And, I think everyone now understands that you choose what sparks joy
Does
for
it
you.
spark joy?
Does it spark joy? And that really does work. But some people, like my parents' generation especially, they're like, but I want to hold on to it for a rainy day, or, use it up, wear it out, make it do without, whatever. And so I think that if you can ask yourself honestly, do an assessment of some things that you have been holding on to just in case someone might need them. And if like a high percentage of those items no one has actually needed, then maybe you can give yourself permission to not have to hold on to all of those things in the future, or allow people to get those items when they need them in the future, but not until then,
Yeah, I've heard the monetary value of $20. So if something is less than $20 and you don't think you'll need it this year, or you maybe might not need it next year, can you part with it now and then rebuy it when you need it?
Right, exactly. Because space is worth money too. I mean, the amount of people who are paying for storage units, like I really struggle with that, because I'm like, that's such an investment. When you think of the real estate of this item, like what is this costing you really per month, per year, years and years and decades of having a storage unit? Your item is costing way more than what you originally paid for it. And so if you can kind of detach yourself from that and let go, then you actually can save money in the long run. Yeah.
Something I'm good at is organizing a space, but then what I found is maintaining it is the hardest part. I've been trying to be better about using a filter before the item comes into my home. Okay, where will this live? Where will I use this? And really considering those things before I bring it into my home, because that is what contributes to the doom piles, or just things that don't have anywhere to live, is just, okay, all this extra stuff that doesn't fit into my organization.
And you can ask yourself the question, not do I need this item, but can I live without it?
Right. Can I live without it? Exactly. I think one of the things we were going to talk about is like how to deal with the clutter that comes along with kids. And I think one of the biggest things that creates clutter is toys. I think that we kind of live in a culture where like you get a toy for doing well at school. You get a toy for, whatever, like grandparents and aunts and uncles give you toys. There's just such an incoming flow of toys that it becomes overwhelming. And I think it's been scientifically proven that like in a toy room with too many toys, a child gets overwhelmed and actually can't play in a healthy way because there are too many choices. And so one of my very favorite things to do in that situation where I feel like there are too many toys in a home is something that I did with some clients. Like when I very first started 8 years ago, they had 6 kids, so many toys, the kids couldn't even like walk into the toy room. And so I said, okay, we're going to do something here. Are you guys on board with maybe trying something different? They were like, okay. So I brought like 6 tables. We set them up in their larger family room. I organized all the toys, like according to category, according to color, whatever. It looked really beautiful, like a store display. And everything all along the tables, under the tables, like it filled the whole room. And then I said, okay, you guys have a good system for your laundry. Like each kid has their own laundry basket and you help with your laundry and stuff. And so I said, okay, go get your laundry baskets. And they're all the same size, right? Yeah, they're all the same size. Okay, so now we're going to go through this room and it's going to be like your very own toy yard sale in your own home, And they're like, what? I said, okay, go through these tables and pick whatever is your favorite, whatever are your favorite toys. And then when you reach like when your laundry basket is full, like that's all the toys that you're going to get. But you can put a lot of thought into which toys you choose. And they were so excited about this. And so the parents beforehand, they were like, oh, we don't want to just get rid of their toys without their permission. That would feel violent, But also, I'm just not quite sure which ones to keep. And so the parents watched as the kid, we were like, ready, set, go, 3, 2, 1, countdown. So it felt a little more exciting. And it was like Christmas morning. The kids were so excited going through, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I love this. I love this. So they filled up their baskets. And then we said, whatever remains, we're going to donate to other kids so that they can have some toys. And they were really happy with that solution. And the parents told me later, they were like, I couldn't believe the ones that they chose. They were not the ones that I would have chosen for them to keep. But the kids felt empowered with them being able to make the decision. And they were totally happy to let go of all the extra ones. So
Doing a toy rotation is also something.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you tell us how you've utilized that and where people have actually stored their extra toys?
Yeah, I would say here in Utah, like in Louisiana, you don't have basements, you have attics. But here in Utah, I think almost everyone has a basement and you have some kind of a cold storage or storage room. So I think that's a great place to put toys on rotation. Those are like your great quality, long-lasting toys, that are going to last all of your kids and maybe future grandkids, whatever that you want to hold on to. Just clearly labeled, and then bring those out different times and seasons, and then they're excited to see that toy again, and then you put something else into rotation. I think that's another good place to also keep clothes, baby clothes that you're going to keep maybe for future kids. So yeah, utilizing a space that's in your living space, but more in a storage area, I think is good for those long-term things.
My mom and dad have an attic, and they have actually kept a lot of our toys, which has been so precious to be able to give to my children the toys that I played with. They also gave me some Barbies, which I think are going to be worth millions now.
The one thing I think everybody thinks they're, everybody's like, oh, this is worth so much money. Like Beanie Babies. No, ma'am. Everybody has Beanie Babies.
Well, what about American Girl dolls?
Okay, American Girl dolls might. And Barbies for sure had a resurgence after the movie. So my mom does the same thing. And our toy room, like in my parents' home, is so fun for all of the grandkids to play in because it is. It's like the parents remember playing with those toys. I mean, it's almost like walking into a museum. Like, you can't find a lot of those toys some places. So I'm grateful for the toys that my parents held on to. And I think that there is definite value in deciding which things that are worth, hanging on to. You don't have to declutter everything. If that sparks joy for you, like, hang on to those things. But it's carefully curated so that it's not an overwhelming room. There aren't too many choices, but the choices that are there are like the Fisher-Price camping RV. So the really fun toys that conjure up a lot of nostalgia and memories.
Are there a few types of toys that you would absolutely recommend that a child gets or that a family holds on to kid after kid?
Yeah, I think that like sturdy wooden blocks are a great thing. I think like when a kid is learning how to fit things into space, any of those kinds of toys are great. Little music xylophones, those seem to have lasted the ages. So just classic toys like that are great. But McDonald's, Happy Meal toys are not ones that are going to last forever. So let's let those go on to DI,
Well, how do you utilize closet space? Or I might feel like my closet is a catch-all.
Yes. Okay, so there's a book out there that I really enjoy called Decluttering at the Speed of Life by Dana K. White. I read this book, and she kind of a little bit is not a super fan of professional organizers because she's encouraging you to do it yourself, and that's totally great. But I reached out to her, and I was like, this is such good information. Can we please use one of your concepts in our, SMART method for organizing? So we have like 5 steps of what we follow on every organizing session. So S is first to sort things like with like, M is to minimize to your favorites. And then the A step is what we got, the idea that we got from her, which is accept the limitations of your space. And in this book, she talks about how your home is the container for your things, right? So the pantry should be the container for your food items. The garage should be the container not for like boxes and boxes of crap, but it should be the container for your garage and like the gardening and, camping, whatever. So I've always tried to hold on to the fact that your closet should be the container for your clothes and not for like a million other things. So in my closet, I have my clothes and I rotate seasonal things and my shoes and stuff. And I do have a filing cabinet in there with some papers. But I've also, this was an idea from Marie Kondo, to kind of create a little shrine for yourself, like a place of beauty for yourself in your home. I think that's really important for new mothers. So I just have like posters or pictures or photos that bring me joy. So it's like every time you go in your closet, you're kind of grounding yourself. So I don't know if a closet is a really small space that you could maybe say, okay, this closet in the office is going to be like my little sanctuary. You can create a place of beauty for yourself.
And what about the other letters in the acronym? Was it SMART?
Yes, it was SMART. Okay,
SMART.
So after A, accept the limitations of your space. R is then to repurpose or buy new containers. And then T is 10 minutes a day to keep it up. Because I'm sorry, even if you get your whole house organized by a professional organizing team, it won't stay unless you make a little bit of effort to keep it up each day.
That's great. If it only actually took 10 minutes. I feel like in order to keep my house in order, it takes hours every day.
I know, but it's like if you're at least chipping away at one room, for 10 minutes and doing that over the long haul, it'll make a difference.
So how do you feel about multi-purpose gear? What is the best, space saving, maybe a stroller that turns into a car seat or those types of things?
I think those are great. I think if they're good quality and they last, they have durability, then I think they're wonderful. I think space saving, efficiency, for me, a lot of places in a home that are underutilized are vertical space. So whether it's like the top shelves in your closet that go way up to the ceiling and you're not using that vertical space, if you can figure out a way to stack bins there, or the space under a sink, the Container Store or Amazon, you can find things that are space saving that like utilize all of the space that you have available. I think you can do that in kids' rooms, in bathrooms, in the garage, wherever.
And can we circle back a little bit to baby gear? Have you found that there are like certain elements that are must-haves?
As a mom or in all the homes that I see?
Let's do as a mom first.
Okay, as a mom, yes, must-haves are children's books to read to my kids.
Yeah.
The outfits that I love. Like, I may tell people to declutter, but I still have sentimental clothes from my kids that I will always keep that are very powerful, memories for me. I think that like a good hiking backpack was a good fun thing, a good stroller to be able to go on walks. Yeah, man, my youngest is 15, so I'm like thinking back to all the memories. A good high chair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I asked my business partner what her thoughts were, and she said to her it's very important to have a comfortable place to set the baby down in each room. Mm-hmm. So if you're, you have the baby napping in the office or whatever while you're trying to get work done, or you're playing in the playroom, and your toddler needs to go to the bathroom, but your baby, like, not to just leave them on the floor, but like have a
little dockatop.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bouncer.
Right. And not going like way overboard with buying a super expensive one for every room, but maybe a portable one. That's an important thing for her.
Yeah. Talking about containers, I've heard the advice to figure out your items and then figure out a container. Is that what you would say too? I know some people just love to buy containers in the Container Store, and it's so exciting.
It is so exciting, and I would say if you're motivated by that, great. But that's why we have the order in its order, SMART, because we don't want you to do the fourth step first. We don't want you to go and buy containers first, because you don't know what you're going to keep until you sort. And then once you minimize to your favorites, you're like, oh my word, I have 7 staplers. I really only need 1, maybe 2, a backup, So once you've decided what you're keeping and then you accept the limitations of your space, then that fourth step is when you get to reward yourself for having done all the hard work of decluttering or figuring things out. And then you go shopping. But you're going shopping armed with measurements of exactly the spaces that you need and not just going crazy buying, because a lot of people have tons of stacks of containers in their home that they got excited about buying, but they haven't implemented yet.
Yeah, the containers have to have a purpose, and it has to work for you, right? Like sometimes you find that a certain container is actually not sturdy enough for your child to pull it out and to access their toys and everything.
Right, very true. And some people don't like clear containers because it looks too cluttered to them. So it's all about your preference. It's your home, it's your preference, And so I think, like, if the question, can I even have an aesthetically pleasing home with a baby, with a kid? I think you can. I mean, you have to accept reality. That's not always going to be picked up and perfect. But I think if beautiful containers really express your personality, then go all out with containers. You just will put the stuff in the containers, but you get to pick what the containers look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, beautiful containers. They definitely spark joy for me.
Yes.
My husband
so many out there that are just amazing.
He could give me a gift card to the Container Store any day and I would be thrilled.
I know. Yes.
I think that's fabulous that the steps go in order sequentially. That makes a lot of sense. And talking about, can you keep it clutter-free with kids? Do you have any specific tips for the day-to-day maintenance? I noticed that, toys are everywhere, and sometimes I'm okay with that, and sometimes I'm not. A lot of people say, oh, it's a messy house, you're making memories, and that's fine. But what about when your personality is so tied to, the visual clutter?
Yeah, and that is a really important thing, because some people, clutter does not bother them, and some people, clutter does bother them. And I think you need to respect that there are different personalities living in your home. But if you have a child that clutter really bothers them, then let's make sure that their room is a space that they can keep clutter-free. And if you have a kid, like one of mine, I will not name, who loves to just have everything everywhere, that's fine, as long as it's contained within that room and doesn't spill out into everyone else's spaces. Okay, so I think that it's helpful to have fun little cute baskets like on the stairs going up or whatever. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but someone was telling me that they have an F this basket that they just like throw. I don't feel like dealing with this today, so we're just gonna throw it into this basket or what the heck, you can name it whatever you want to. Okay, but you just have these baskets that like you're trying to pick up, but you don't want to have to put everything in its space. And so you just throw it into that basket, and then at the end of the week or the end of the day or whatever, then you go through those things and put them away.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a game changer for me. I moved from a home where our main living room was everything. It was my craft room, it was our playroom, it was where we socialized, and I didn't want that when we were looking for a new home. And so I don't love toys in my living room, but they're always there.
Right.
Because the kids come and they go and they bring their toys in and out. But I do have 2 of those baskets, and I just kind of fill them up, and it helps. It's a quick pickup, but I'm able to kind of maintain my own dedication to not having my living room be the toy room.
Exactly.
And I learned from the Lazy Genius to notice the spaces where you might need another basket. So if you're always finding laundry in your kitchen, for example,
point.
that's relatable to me because my laundry room is upstairs. We have a laundry room. We have a laundry basket in our kitchen, and that's just where we keep laundry when we change the boys, and that way we don't have laundry all over the floor. There's a place to contain it within that space, even though it's far away from the laundry room.
Right. I mean, I think that we can be realistic. Like, you're not going to have the energy to put everything away every single time that you use it, and that's fine. But if you at least have a place where it's designated to go so that it's not just like where people are going to step on it in the middle of the night or, then you can deal with it as you do. Like my business partner, she has a designated toy room. Her kids are allowed to take the toys out to their room or to the living room or whatever to play with. But they have a basket, they put all the stuff in the basket, and then they put it she just puts it in the toy room at night, and then like the next morning or maybe 2 days later, when she has energy, she'll sit on the floor and she'll be like, oh, look, 3 cars, can you put these away? And then the kid is so excited to go, they know where to put those away. Clocks, can you put this away? And it kind of becomes a game and like good, bonding time with your kids, but they're learning to like put things back to where they go. But it's not like every single time, the stress of every single time.
That's great.
And I wanted to circle back with clutter. You had mentioned like a child who is okay with it and a child who is a little bit more tidy. Even though they might dwell amongst it, I think it's always a little detrimental to have clutter around your child, like helping them value organization and cleanliness so that if the clutter is actually causing them some anxiety or that weight on their shoulders, they can have freedom. They can feel light, that feeling that you get when a space is tidy.
Exactly. I think that there's a reason why people love to go and stay in a hotel because it's a clean space and the bed gets made every day if you want it to, like there's just something mentally relaxing about knowing that this space is already clean and it can be cleaned again if I want it to, but your home, it's like, it's harder to keep up on those things. But I have a son who's pretty ill right now and has been sick for like a year and a half, and he's usually very minimalistic, but I noticed the other day, like his room was becoming super cluttered. And so when he was away for a few hours, I like deep cleaned his room, and I realized it was because he wasn't feeling well, that he wasn't able to keep up on that. But it was good for his health to come back to a clean space, and he really appreciated that. So yeah, I think it's healthier for us to live in a less cluttered environment.
I did want to talk about really quick a connection to nature because I know that you love nature and you're out and about all the time. I remember a conversation that we had about how organization relates to nature. Would you mind just speaking to that for a moment?
Yeah, I don't know, when I like see the beauty of a sunset or I go and like, an overlook from a cliff and looking down into there's just some kind of organizational structure that puts it all together in a really aesthetically pleasing way. Like I'll never forget if you've ever experienced like coming through the tunnel to Yosemite, like that point where you see the valley and there's the waterfall perfectly over here, and then the thing that balances this side of the view, it's like you could not have, it's so perfectly structured. There's something very satisfying about that. And so, I don't know, it's like nature cleans up after itself, and nature, is predictable and it follows seasons and things like that. And so I don't know, it like recharges my soul when I've been doing a lot of work, like in cluttery homes or whatever. I love what I do, but it's nice for me to just be able to go and recharge in a space that's like really zen and beautiful.
There's going to be a mad rush to Yosemite so we can all see Half Dome.
And I think finding moments like that in our crazy cluttered world and motherhood that we can recharge and get that zen. So that's a beautiful connection.
Right, absolutely.
Well, we love to share resources on this show and wanted to know if you have any resources that you love that helps you to stay organized as a mom and keep that house in line.
Jen and I are in a book club together, and I really love to read. So I would say that we're like constantly reading and talking about books. I just always like finding new books that can help me figure things out. So my favorite thing from raising my kids was reading them children's books. And so like even now, they're too old to read children's books, but something that I've chosen is to like have a little display bookshelf in the home that like each month I set up new books that just like what season we're in, and I'll put in there like 2 or 3 of their favorite children's, like a children's book memory. And so, I don't know, incorporating just your favorite things as you go along is really powerful.
Yeah, one of my favorite books was Simplicity Parenting, and I just grabbed a quick quote from it. As you simplify your life, you will find that the everyday activities of family life present opportunities for greater connection, meaning, and joy.
That's a great quote. Yes, for simplicity. Yes, for connection. All those things. Yeah.
And it goes right along with what you were saying about honoring what you do love, and your books bring you joy, and so you have a way to display them instead of hoard them. That's a great connection. And then every week we share a Mom Squad secret from someone in our community. So we have from Christy: preparing for labor and postpartum shouldn't just fall on you. Make sure you have a supportive birth team, community, your spouse, doula, family, or others. And that's what we were talking about. If you need to bring in a personal or professional organizer, or we need those people to help support us, it shouldn't just fall on us.
Exactly. You got to have a team. You got to have a team for sure. But then you experience that connection when you do bring in a team. And I think that's very rewarding. And we all crave connection. So
Thank you so much for joining us today. Where can we find you? Where can we find your SMART acronym?
Okay, you can find it on our website, which we actually are just releasing tomorrow, our refreshed website. We did a photo shoot and everything. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. So www.thewholepackageorganizing.com. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, go to our website and you can connect with us there.
So great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. We hope you've been elevated and inspired by this week's expert.
Subscribe today so you never miss an episode. And please share our podcast or post on your social media so that other moms and dads-to-be can also have the best birth.
Please note that the information provided is based on the expert's insights and personal experience. It is not intended as medical guidance. Please seek the advice of your medical provider as it applies to your specific condition.